Aloha mai kako. Thank you for coming this evening in beautiful Ka'u. My name is Mahina Paishan. I'll be spending the next 2 hours with all of you in this ongoing conversation for how we can care and continue to love Mauna wa Kea, Mauna Kea. Aloha to our online participants as well. Thank you for making the time. At this time, I'd like to ask Chair of the Authority, John Kumeji, to please welcome us and to say a few words. Mahalo.
Aloha. Thanks to all of you for spending time and your commitment to making Hawaii better. We appreciate your thoughts. We come tonight to ask you for your opinions, your thoughts, and our job is to listen. So please, part of what we're trying to do is to provide a platform where people feel safe to express their feelings one way or the other. That's what we intend to do tonight. So again, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for showing up. We know that everybody has busy lives, so thank you very much.
Mahalo nui, Chair Kumeji. At this time, I'd also like to acknowledge and Alameda for making the time to be with us and ask him if you'd like to say a few words. Learned also that he has Ohana connection.
Aloha. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, my late wife, this is her area, you know, Waihinu and Fujikawa's and yeah, Mark Twain Square. So, but no, it's an honor and privilege on behalf of the county. Yeah, I mean, this is our facilities. This is your facilities. You know, we offer this to you folks for this very important kuka. Here on behalf of the county, so much. And so I always have to clarify, you know, when it is the authority's opinions, I'll preface it, but for the most part, it's always been my opinion, so but that's the role I'm in. So mahalo for being here, and those who are online, aloha, mahalo. Thank you.
Mahalo, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so we're going to pull up the next few slides. And yes, my name is Mahina Paishan. I come to you from North Kona. I have family roots. My roots take me to Waipio, Hamakua, as well as North Kohala. Kohala Loko and Kohala Waho, as well as North Kona. Really privileged to be here to serve all of you in the mission of the authority and our long-term mission, which is really, again, to aloha Mauna wa Kea, a beloved ancestor and wahipana. Now, I'd like to introduce all of the board members here that are present and those who also, in the next slide, of pictures of the authority members that are here. So as I call out your name, the authority members that are present, please just raise your hand or stand. You already met Mr. John Kumeji, who serves as chair. Good job. Mahalo, Mr. Kumeji. We also have Dr. Noinoi Wong Wilson, who serves as vice chair from Wainaku Hilo. In the house, we also, yes, Kaiviki, mahalo, kalamayau. We also have Mr. Rich Matsuda, longtime resident of Waimea. You already were welcomed by Mayor Alameda as well. And also in the room, we have Mr. Neil Hannes for his expertise in land management. Make it this evening. The other authority members that are working very diligently as part of the authority who could not join us tonight is Pomai Bertelman, a lineal descendant of Waimea, Pu'ukapu Waimea, Mr. Paul Horner, who's the Senate appointee, Dr. Bonnie Irwin, Chancellor of UH Hilo, Deputy Director Ryan Kanako'ole of DLNR, DNR representative, Dr. Kalehua Krug, educator and cultural practitioner, and Mr. Ben Kudo, a UH regent, and finally, Lanakila Mangwal of Honoka'a, Hamakua, cultural practitioner as well. So mahalo to all of you as in your service, your volunteer service, I might add, as authority members. In addition, we want to acknowledge the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority staff members that are both in the House and also working diligently but not present. First off, we have Mr. John DeFries, Executive Director. Mr. Bill Stormont, Project Director. Lloyd Unibasami, as well as Pua Enaan. And we also have Chris Daggett. Thank you for joining us. Where is Chris? Chris is also in the house. He's an instrumental player as well. We have also, you know, this is such a big, important, it's not a topic. This is of great importance. Mauna Awakea is of great importance to all of us, particularly those of Hawaii, for Hawaii Island and Hawaii Pai'aina. I'm saying that because we have a number of members here that are just serving, like myself, as kako'o, to just support this effort so that community, all of you, community, can be centered in this conversation, right? So it takes a lot of hands. And so we have folks from Hackbed, we have Corinne and Mary. I have mahalo. I have an awesome technical team. Thank you so much, because I'm not technically smart. We have Dusty and Uncle Paul Buckley. And we have project expertise from Jessica as well. And some other advisors that are in the room. We have Kamuela, we have Kahanu, and April. So mahalo to all of you, and Ilihia as well, who are all here and doing their part as volunteers and in some capacity, you know, as advisors and consultants. So this time is your time. So we just want to get through the formalities of this so that we can make sure that we have ample time with all of you. Okay, so now I am going to invite Auntie Noi Noi back onto the front here, and she's going to walk through background history. Mahalo.
Aloha, everybody, and aloha to our online audience. So happy that you're going to spend your day, hi Nohea, aloha, your evening with us. So I get to tell you a little bit of how Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority came about. And so just bear with me as we go back a little bit in history, as some of you recall that in 2015 and in 2019, we stood on Mauna Kea. And so we urged at that time the Kia'i to change the structure of how our beautiful Mauna was being taken care of or managed. And out of that effort that many of us in Ka'u participated in and supported us on the Mauna, came a decision by the House of Representatives. At the time, the chair was Scott Psyche, who decided that he would put together what he called a working group. And he brought, I think, 15 of us together, diverse group, some of us Kia'i, some of us from government, some of us from other parts of the community, and gave us about 6 months and said, can you work together and try and come up with some concept or some idea about how we can make sure that Mauna Kea gets taken care of in a way that is more acceptable to the various parts of the community, and get us out of this impasse that we were in at the time, emotional, physical, spiritual. And so we did. There are 15 members who consisted of that first working group that worked hard that first year. And 4 of the members of that working group who continue to serve on the Mauna Kea Authority are myself, Rich Masuda, who you met earlier, Lanakila Manguel, and Dr. Bonnie Irwin from University of Hawaii. But there were 15 of us, including Auntie Pua Kanahele and a number of others from the community. The working group submitted a report and recommendations that led to the introduction of a bill that became Act 255, and that is our governing legislation which created the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority. So a little bit about us. I know that you saw on the previous couple slides the people who are actually serving, and we serve at the will of the Senate, and we confirmed by the Senate, and we have terms. But I just want you to know, out of the 11 voting members, because Dr. Irwin, representing UH Hilo, is actually a non-voting member. So there are 12 of us who sit on the board, 11 of us have voting rights. Out of the 11 of us, the 4 members are part of the working group. 8 of us, including Mayor Alameda, are Hawaiian. So, and that is not by design, but it was important for the legislature and for the people who appointed us that we were well represented of the Native Hawaiian community as well as the larger community. So 8 of us are Native Hawaiian. 7 members of the 11 are from the community. 3 are government representatives, including the mayor. And we have 1 representative from the Mauna Kea Observatories, which is the seat that Rich Matsuda serves in. The purpose of this authority was to give voice to the community, particularly to Native Hawaiians, because that had been one of the issues that was brought up numerous times in the days and the months and years leading up to this. So the diversity of the Mauna Kea board, the purpose and the framework differentiates from other existing government organizations in Hawaii. We're the only one that is created with this kind of consideration and mana'o behind how the board is actually comprised. The unifying purpose of the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority is, and I'll quote this piece, we recognize that Native Hawaiians have an inseparable environmental kinship with Aina. Therefore, the health and integrity of Mauna Kea is paramount. Our purpose is to establish a collaborative and holistic management framework for Mauna Kea that is grounded in kanawai and the laws of nature, prioritizes Native Hawaiian voices, contributes to environmental and social justice, and is sensitive to diverse perspectives. And we also, working alongside our constituents and our friends who actually work up there in the observatories, we have a, what do we call it? The way we govern, the model we use for making decisions is collaborative. Everybody has an opportunity to participate in the mana'o and in the consideration that goes before any decision is made by authority. But even more important than that, it requires us to make sure that we hear the voice of our community. And so this authority takes great pleasure and intentionally make sure that we will give our communities here on Hawaii Island and throughout the Pai'aina the opportunity to engage with us directly, face-to-face, one-on-one, and in group settings, and be able to, as you will see tonight, actually contribute your mana'o to the work that's being done with the authority. So the values and guiding principles embedded in the working group and the laws that govern Mauna Kea Authority are actually written into our legislation, and they include Mauna Aloha, understanding the reciprocal value of the Mauna and our long-term commitment to maintaining integrity of Mauna Kea. Opukupuna, we understand and embrace our duty and accountability to Mauna Kea, the natural environment, and to perpetuate Hawaiian cultural values embedded in the sacred landscape of the Mauna. And Holomua Oi Kela Kela, we're driven by creativity and constantly challenging status quo. Our stewardship of Mauna Kea is informed based on existing knowledge and traditions, that's the kanawai, as well as on new and expanding knowledge. We're mindful and observant of needs, trends, and opportunities, and seek new knowledge and opportunities in ways that enhance our ability to serve as stewards without jeopardizing our foundation of Aina Aloha. So I have the pleasure of introducing a short video produced for us by Auntie Pua Kanahele, Dr. Pualani Kanakole Kanahele, whose family comes from this very Aina. And so she is going to share her mana'o about what that kanawai is and what it means to us. So I think you're queued up for Auntie Pua.
Hello, Yakapoa Pau. It's a real honor to talk about Kanawai because it's not something we hear about all the time, but it's something that existed for a long time, and it's something that continues to exist because it has to do with this land that we live on, and what we as Hawaiians anyway, should know about this land that we live on. That's what the Kanawais are all about. Kanawai is first and foremost, it's called a law, but it's not a code or decree or regulation. Any one of those will identify the idea of Kanawai. And the first Kanawai that we're going to talk about is a Kanawai called Ho'okiki Kanawai. Ho'okiki Kanawai. Okay, and Ho'okiki Kanawai is the law of continuum. And so this is about Kanakas trying to educate Kanakas about what's happening on their land and how they can make their land exist for many generations. So this Kanawai has to do with the law of continuum. And Ho'okiki Kanawai is the idea of Ho'okiki is to let things flow. And if you look around you, what are the things that flows? And one of the things that flow on our land is water. And they focus on water a lot because water is one of our main sources of life, for life. And so the idea of Ho'okiki Kanawai is the idea of allowing or being aware of where water flows. And the other thing that flows is magma. And the great thing about magma and lava is once it comes up, whoosh, 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 and then it flows, it comes up out of the ground, and then it flows down to the ocean. What it does, it gives us land. And we look at it sometimes as being destructive. It is not destructive. It does what it has to do in order for us to have land. And so what the Ho'okiki Kanawai is stay out of its way. Okay, allow it to flow. And then the idea of water that flows, Mauna Kea, the aupua of Ka'ohe runs from Hamakua, and it's a small aupua, runs from Hamakua to the top of Mauna Kea and over to Mauna Loa. Ka'ohe is bamboo. And the idea of the bamboo and why it's called bamboo, it has to do with water. And between the two mountains catches the most water. And it catches the most water, and this water will go into the earth, go into a bamboo idea of water basins. And then the water will leak out from it very slowly. And so you have all of these water basins between the two mountains. And that's why we have really big rivers in the Hamakua district, because of all the water that flows down freely. So the consciousness of what flows, where it flows, why we should be conscious of it flows, because it gives us life and because it gives us a place to live. And water is what we need for life. And a lot of the water has to do with the two mountains that we live on. Yeah. That's the idea of the continuum. The other Kanawai is Kua'a Kanawai. Kua'a is the burning back, the law of the burning back. Now, the law of the burning back has to do with the gestating of landscape, basically, gestating of landscape. They initially looked at it as, or compared it to an Ali of very, very high rank. You don't approach the Ali of very high rank because he is out of reach of everybody. It's the same thing with these land areas, the landscape that we need to hold sacred, or we need to hold like they're going to do a lot of good for us, because these are the land areas that are necessary for our existence. One is, of course, the volcano, and is one of it. The other is places that have marshes and streams and rivers and coral heads, and the idea of the wet forest, because all of these things help to reproduce what's in there on the land. Coral head lets things out into the ocean, and a lot of fish go for it. Okay. And the wet forest is what gives life to more forests. Okay. And the streams do the same thing. And so this is the idea of the law of the burning back. So you look for these places and you be sure that you allow these places to maintain itself as it is. The other kanawai is Kaiokia Kanawai. Kaiokia Kanawai is the law of natural boundaries. Now, this is a law that we as Kanakas need to be aware of. Okay, the law of natural bodies is the law where all of these things that I just talked about, the volcano, the movement of water, and all of that, where they are moving. And what it's saying is that you have to recognize the boundary. So what this is saying, know the boundaries. Know your boundary as a Kanaka and know the boundaries of the land. So Kanawai is all about the environment, all about the land and what the land is doing and where the land is and how the land provides for us. And therefore, our idea of being conscious of it and staying away from places that is not good for us. Okay, the last kanawai is ki hoi hoi kanawai. And ki hoi hoi kanawai is the law of regeneration. And so the law of regeneration is that it's like the first law is the law of continuum. We need to continue our own generation of Kanakas. And we need to see that the generation of the native trees continue. We need to see that the generation of the native birds continue. Or the generations of the insects that live in these areas continue because they're the food for the birds. Okay. And so we have to be conscious of all of that as natives of the island. And again, these are the 4 laws of the land. And the law of regeneration is that we go out and there is a reciprocation. And the sense of reciprocation is if you go back to the Kumulipo in the first 2 lines, I was going to say this in with the first kanawai, but I didn't. But with this particular line, the first 2 lines of the Kumulipo, o ke au I kahuli vela ka honua. And when you talk about that, people say, oh, that's when our earth is hot. No, it's talking about the lava. When the lava is hot, it makes our earth hot. O ke au I kahuli lole kalani. And what that does when our earth gets hot like that, and a lot of steam is up, it clouds the sky. O ke au I kukayaka kala, it hides the sun. So what it's doing is it's returning water to the space above and turning it into clouds. And eventually what it does is that cloud system will return the water back to us. So there's the whole idea of kiho'iho'i kanabai is the idea of reciprocation, that we give and the land gives back. And so be conscious of the fact that the land does give back.
Yeah. We've seen that little clip several times, and every time there's a little bit more understanding. So if you can imagine with our working group, I think the first 2 months of the 6 months we were together, we were lectured weekly by Auntie Pua, who was trying to drill some of this into our heads. But really, it gave us a foundation for beginning our discussion about where we're going and how we're going to get there with our Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, or the authority, because it's a mouthful for us to say every time. I want to introduce to you one of our newer board members, authority members. That's Neil Hannes. If you know Neil, then you know how brilliant he is. And you know that a lot of the work in his history that he's done in our community to protect water and our water resources and many other things in his long career at Kamehameha Schools was to help us with the development of a strategic framework. And so I want to introduce Neil Hannes.
Mahalo, mahalo. How brilliant can you be when you're the one who gets to follow Auntie Pua in terms of, I think, a more sacrifice. Aloha to our friends and our participants online. Aloha to our team, our authority members, our staff, and those who come apart to be a part of this journey. And aloha to the people of Ka'u. Nā kupa aina, this aina nani kamahao. I was sharing with Bill Storman as we drove over, I've seen a lot of islands, I've seen a lot of Hawaii. One of my very favorite vistas is coming from Puna, cresting as you and Ka'u unfolds before your eyes with kapapala ranch and all that before you. It's just, I get chicken skin every time I come here. So thank you for having us all here tonight, and it's a real special privilege for me to be here. I work a lot across the community, and one of the things I do is help with our voyaging community on the Polynesia Voyaging Society. And I know I taught us long ago, he said, if you don't know where you're going, any wind will do, right? If you don't have that. And so we use the metaphor of you got to see the island. You've got to see the island and hold that vision of that destination in your sights at all times, and then marshal all your ability to observe, your ability to see what's going on around you, to move yourself toward your desired destination. With that island, you can go anywhere. So when we think about the kuleana that we have, on this authority, we need to have a strategic framework to serve as our guiding star, to be that island. Otherwise, anything we do on Mauna Kea can be okay from, time to time, depending on who's on the authority and so forth. But we said there needs to be that sense of strategic framework or vision, so that we need to incorporate that into how we regulate the behavior of humankind in interaction with that mauna. And so we're here to listen tonight, but I need to tell you, we don't begin with a blank slate. This mauna has been here for a long time. Our people have been in connection and in love with this mauna for a long time. It is documented. And one of the important groups that documented this was a very diverse group from across the community that met all around the Mokupuni of Hawaii to talk about it, was this working group. Their body of findings and results, some of which you've seen in Auntie Pua's comments and what Noinoi has talked about, is really kind of chronicled their report and then was put into the legislation that created Act 255. So for a law, it's a law, number one, but it's also really wisdom that came from millennia from our community, expressed up and documented. So that begins to start to shape that island for us. So our efforts on the authority is not to, again, have a blank slate, but to really kind of grab that material and start to shape it so it can be useful to our work. And so we drafted it here in the document that you're going to be reviewing tonight. We put it in terms of clauses about legislative finding and intent and mission and purpose and our core values and guiding principles, all as a way to really set that island for our vision. And then we're going to turn to our consulting team, some of whom are here tonight, to kind of help us, and to our staff, that John DeFries leads, and say, okay, they get telescopes up there. We get commercial tools going up there. We get cultural resources to manage and activities to manage. We get natural resources. We get educational opportunity. Okay, so how are we going to have a regulatory framework that then aligns to that vision, aligns to that island so we get there? That's the logic model. And so we're here tonight, we're here to go around this community in a really transparent way. So we'll tell you what we're going to do. We don't want this to be a surprise, and it didn't just come out of our 11 heads. It's an honoring of all the body of work that's come before, and our earnest effort to put it forward with your help, with your input, with your reflection on, are we saying it clear? Is it clear enough? Can we say it better? Is it missing some stuff? So that's what we'll be about tonight. And so when we get that, then the hukupā is there, then we go, okay, what does that mean for telescopes and astronomy? What does that mean for all of these things and human interactions with the mauna? So that's how we kind of came to this. And John, you're going to be put into that position, and all your team is, okay, once you have this, where do we go? What do we do?
Appreciate that, Neil, very much. I wanted to digress a little bit and go back, because it dawned on me as I was watching Antipua's video. About 30 years ago, I was part of a team that, through a nonprofit in Waimea called Friends of the Future, in Antipua, in Antiulu, and Kia Fronda, and a number of us were the early members there. And one of our assignments was to go into Waipio Valley and help the taro farmers secure long-term leases. They were on a month-to-month with the primary landowner, which was Bishop Museum, and there was just a lot of tension and conflict in that relationship between landowner and the farmers. And so we went in. The leader of our team was a gentleman by the name of Pokalai Nui out of Waianae, and Antipuanani Burgess. And I was kind of the kako'o, the supporter of that effort. In the course of that, really early in Waipio, you learn that you may have Hawaiian ancestry, but you're still a visitor. And you don't live there. And you may be able to trace your genealogy back there, but you don't live there, okay? And so early on, you kind of learn to walk softly, listen more than you talk, and all of that. But in the course of that, this was over several years, it took us to get to a lease document, okay? I'd go in and somebody would say, hey, we'd be standing at the base of Hi'ilave waterfall, and one of the local residents would say, hey, John, Waipio means the curving water. So you see the water curving into the valley. That's Waipio. A couple months later, I'm standing on a promontory looking down, and the stream is full and working its way to the ocean. And this young woman who lives in the valley says, John, Waipio, the curving water, you see what's happening with the stream? That's Waipio. Okay? Now at the same time, one of the leases we were trying to secure, this is like 1993, is for the Edith Kanakaole Foundation. And while I struggle to use the term late in referring to Antipua's husband, Edward, Edward and Antipua were at the forefront of securing that lease in a section of the valley called Naalehu. And so one day I'm in the valley with Pua, and we're standing, taking in the beauty and the majesty of Waipio, and she says, "John, you see the waterfall? You see it hit the floor. You see the stream going out to the ocean. The water evaporates. You see the clouds. And later going to rain. And you see the waterfall. That movement, that curving is Waipio." Okay? Was in that talk I was having with her 30 years ago. The importance of that is in that moment, she made for me the invisible visible. Because once you see it, she didn't make the first wrong, she didn't make the young lady wrong with the stream, but she made the whole connection, right? She made the invisible visible. And we are confronted with those opportunities time and time again as we move forward on this journey that Neil is referring to. Frankly, the easiest parts to understand are the regulatory aspects of it. Okay? Many of us have grown up in various fields where we have had to work with this, understand it, how it works in a bureaucracy, how to be accountable to not only the communities, but to the regulatory agencies that provide regulatory oversight, right? So we will be challenged each step of the way. This coming weekend and in the months that follow, you're going to hear more public announcements about a planning firm that has been retained to embark upon a 14 to 16-month process in developing the authority's management plan. Critical to that effort is getting to a final document of this draft. This draft resulted from intense discussions, deliberations, and debate in the boardroom. And 12 board members got to a draft document that we now introduce to the communities, first in Waimea back in April, and between now and the end of September, we are here in Naalehu, we will be in Kona, Laupahoehoe, Hilo, and then an encore performance in Waimea that has been requested, actually. The end result, at each of the meetings, the feedback that we receive from residents throughout the island become collected. This team is taking extensive notes and accounts of any feedback, any input, any new ideas, any concerns, so that at the end of the series of meetings, we will be able to see certain themes and certain priorities that keep recurring, that will begin to move certain subject matters to the front, which will then help the staff formulate the next draft that then gets resubmitted to our board. So by the fourth quarter of this year, we will get the final document. Establishing this guiding star becomes critical to the work that is about to unfold starting Friday, which is our kickoff meeting with the planning firm and the planning team, many of whom are in this room right now, work upon this, okay? Throughout it, be a constant challenge to balance the regulatory framework and working with both the tangible and intangible elements that are part of our Hawaiian traditional practices. And I will say that as the identities of the planning team become revealed publicly, you will see that the lead planning firm has a substantial background in this area. And to their credit, they have built a diverse planning team that excels at community interaction and community engagement, as well as Hawaiian traditional practices. So to that end, we are grateful that you're here tonight and looking forward to each stop along the way to help us understand how we do this better. Thank you.
Mahalo nui for setting the framework and the North Star for us. Now we are, guess what? In the same canoe. Yes. So this is no small feat, no small task. And the remainder of this evening is really your time, community. And so what I'm going to be doing is we're going to be running through 2 sets of questions. However, I want you to know 2 important things. One is that there are refreshments here. There's coffee and some mea ono from Punalu'u bread shop, mahalo. And then also the gentleman in the back in the red shirt, he is taking photographs. He is a kako'o to the authority, and he's taking photographs because we want to make sure that, people can see the visuals, the pictures. They're going to see the notes. So we want to put pictures to the notes that are going to be published on the public website, designated website. So if there's anyone here from the public that does not want to be photographed, please go ahead and talk story with the person in the red shirt, and he will be sure to not photograph you. Thank you. Okay, so with that, what we're going to do now, we're going to turn on the lights, I think right over there. And I am going to have, we're just going to use the back. We have people online, and my partner, Jessica, is going to be interacting with the folks that are online. And then those that are in the room, we are going to use these center tables. So we're going to use you can just pick up your chair. Those who are authority members, we've discussed how you're going to participate, and staff members. Everyone else, let's huddle up around that middle table. And then when we're settled, then I will give the instructions. And those online as well, you will also get the questions. Mahalo. Jessica, you set? Okay, almost. Okay. I was born in the Kahili Pali Akua, a house that no longer sits, just the Akua over from here. Was raised in Waiokilu, Naalehu, and Kahuku, because those are the places that my grandpa, my mama, and my uncle lived, that we spent a lot of time at their hale. And I now live in the Palauhulu Akua, which is on a Kuleana parcel under the Kapila Oa, which is the family that I married into.
Melissa Samora, originally from Pamukka'an. I live in Naalehu. Currently serve as the Deputy Director of Conservation. Aloha, I'm Hui Hui. I live like 500 yards past the first turn over here, and then just go Mauka, and then we live on that road.
Aloha, Kala Mossman, originally from Ka'alaya on the island of Oahu, but right now live in Wailinu. Been there for, I don't know, 20 years.
Aloha, my name is Kamuala Ponte. I'm from Pu'ikafu, Moina. Now I know your name. See you in the coffee shop all the time. And yeah, long-time resident of Moina. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Aloha, April. About almost 20 years in Cuba.
Oh, well, I'm Kelsey. I'm actually a reporter at Big Island now, but I thought it would be kind of like nice and productive of me to be kind of part of this conversation, see what's going on, and meet you guys. But I've lived in Curtistown now, in Puna for like 5 years.
Hi, very Talada. I grew up in Naalehu.
Mahalo. I'm going to go a little bit off the script, just squishy, just a little bit. We have these two sets of questions that are very important because this is just part of our process. And as you heard, Uncle John agrees we're going to be going to most of the moku here on our island. Just want to hear some general reactions to what Mrs. Puakanahele has shared with us. Does it resonate? Does it not resonate?
I try not too fast so I can.
Oh, okay.
It definitely resonates, especially how she talked about the different kanawais. Because even in our mo'olelo of Ka'u, you might just see it as stories, but they're placing kanawai of our specific moku. And just I love how she connects everything. You know, like, because for us, like, Maunahia is like the po'o, the mai po'o of our aina. And but when you look at aina, there's also a mo'okuauhau. Like for us, we honor Kua, who is our ma'anotua, and he's the mo'okuna wakea. So just seeing that whole, it's not just the mountain, it's the ocean and everything that connects in between and above. And I love how she talked about ka'ohe, that being the water container, you know. Just like how the water, you go into the forest and you find water in the bamboo. The same idea, you know, the water goes into Waiau, it goes down into the aquifer, it feeds down to the ocean. So very appropriate for opening up discussions like this.
Beautiful. And those who are online, we'd love for you to also chat and chat with one another online in terms of, you know, what is your overall kind of reaction or response to what Auntie Pua was describing for us. Anyone else here on the table?
I think for me, the OTP kind of like reflected my kids' names. So, probably okay. My son Braden, una po fight the power of hearts blending together. So he represented a time in my life where his birth connected my family, my previous family, current family. And then when Berkey came along, I liked the name Kahina. And so my brother-in-law, Dan, had named her Kahina Vaiho Laiki, which is the stream giving life to the forest. So the flow for me is impotent in the direction that life was heading there. And how it applies to me in my current work as a deputy director is, you know, the flow, the collaboration as we, as administrators in the Department of Parks and Recreation, is aligned with our mayor as far as collaborating with everyone, with their desire to make things work and figure out ways to.
It's okay. And just how we can navigate through just the differences and how we can relate to Parks and Recreation and how we are there for our children and our community. So the flow is really important in how we also connect in our office as friends, as people, and also with our community. Mahalo. It doesn't need to be distracting. We'll just put it right in the middle of the table. Anyone else? Time for maybe two other comments if there are comments. Just checking.
I wanted to say I had no idea what she was talking about. She's my mom, so I can tell her that all the time. I have no idea what you're talking about. I think, as she said, the carnival is what protects the couple. So I'm pretty sure the couple in this case is the Mauna. And so those carnival that we see here that she's brought to the forefront, which I think is the greatest thing. That you bring actual carnival from a mele. I just happen to know that these carnival come from Kulia chant, which kind of, the purpose of that kind of chant is to bring everything back to balance. So like after the big lava flow or after a big fire, after a big destruction, a Kulia chant brings everything back to balance. So that's where these carnival come from. But I think it's monumental when you bring ancestral policies, when you bring ancestral ways of malama aina and of being to today's legislation. And I think that's what she did by how Noinoi was saying, by drilling it into the former working group and making sure they know what the kanawai were and how to pronounce it, where it comes from, what Kanawai is for, because now you bring ancestral thought and how you take care of Aina to 2025. And I think that's a direction that we all should go in, and I think that this is a great beginning for that practice.
Beautiful, beautifully said. So we're gonna get straight into it now. I think we are teed up for the next set of questions. The first set of questions is, when you peruse and review this draft strategic framework, what is not understandable and why? What is not understandable and why? Some of you folks may like to process out loud. Some of you folks may want to write on a Post-it to kind of like clarify your thoughts before you share it. So I'm going to give this table about 2 minutes to either think about your response to that or to maybe write it down. And then I'm going to take your input. And those online, please do the same. What is not understandable and why? Yes. What is not understandable? And you might want to think about it too, like, you know, your neighbors, your Ohana members here in Ka'u, what from their perspective, what might not be understandable? Your students, Ukuna. Another 30 seconds, and then we'll have conversation. So for the first part, what is not understandable, I'm just going to, instead of going overall, let's just take it in sections. So legislative finding and intent, mission and purpose. Those first two sections. Comments, what is not understandable?
I don't know how this is relevant, but
I think for me, what is not understandable is how can we have a place of such spiritual significance coexist with like astronomical study. So we'd have folks up there for functions outside of spiritual significance. So I guess that is kind of a tough one, but that's not understandable for me. How do we coexist? And perhaps what was like the traditional ways that we did utilize our mountain? I mean, if that's the Wawakua, that really wasn't a place for the Kanaka. Just thoughts.
So, thank you. And when you say you have a question about coexisting activities such as astronomy and you say cultural practice, or is it?
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Cultural practice.
Culture.
Uh-huh. And I just feel like if we can come up with a strong framework for that space, that could be helpful for us at our tutupele. Because sometimes when we try to practice our culture there in a space where it's being utilized for selfies and, you know, extremists and stuff, it's kind of a difficult space to be in as a practitioner.
And I appreciate how you're opening up the conversation and how can this coexist in a sacred space?
Kind of jumping off that, but going to the very end of the document.
End of the document.
I know, I'm sorry.
Which part?
Just the support of astronomy. I just like the question I know I would probably hear a lot, and the question that I do have is like, what does that really mean? Like, is there, you know, like, it would be nice to know, I guess, kind of like, yeah, what support means, really.
Okay, so that's what is not understandable is what is the support?
Yeah, what does that really mean? Is there, yeah, I think just being more specific would be something.
Thank you. That is also helpful. So be more clear.
Yeah, it's just a little broad, I think, yeah.
Thank you. Other comments? Yeah, well, it's okay to jump. If you want to jump, you just tell me which section.
I hope I'm not for the entire thing.
Okay, overall?
Overall.
Okay.
I mean, I would love for this to be all over Hawaii.
Okay.
I think as a Kayakuni student, you know, sometimes it's pa'ahiki to helu, maka olala talikanya.
Okay.
But when you dehe about these kanawai and core values, and our kupuna and mo'olelo and ike Hawaii, I think it's important to have olelo Hawaii because it's another understanding to what we're actually trying to say. If that makes sense.
Do you have an opinion on which should be the primary language, olelo Hawaii or olelo Pilikania?
Olelo Hawaii.
Okay, other comments? Again, any section or overall, all is helpful. What is not understandable? You may be thinking of your kids, your tutuma, your cousins, your siblings, your neighbors. What is not understandable?
I think, like for a kind of like, you know, we've kind of been trained in it, yeah. So it's easy for us, but I think like thinking from someone else's perspective who hasn't had experience, understanding the kapu and the kanawai, like just one brief like introduction maybe to how these kanawai are, or where they came with the origin of the kanawai, you know, just so that they can get a deeper understanding that, oh no, this is not something that I just pulled out of the hat and bust them out. It's more like, you know, it comes from the Mele, from our ancestors. These are not ours. We're taking their words and we're using it in this, you know, modern process. But yeah, I think just to help them to better understand the origin.
Right, and if maybe if a member who just picked this up somehow or found the framework, but they didn't have the privilege of seeing the video,
Yeah.
there would be a missing component, right?
Right.
Mahalo. Mahalo. Okay, what else? Excellent. Thank you for your contributions. What else?
The guiding principles again,
Yes.
the land use controls.
Okay.
I'm wondering, you know, who's going to be that oversight? Is that going to be something that's chosen for the Mona, or is that like something that people can discuss together? Is there like kind of a idea of who's that oversight going to be? I don't know.
So for the land use control section, more clarity on
like who's going to be that oversight, or if there's an idea of that. Yeah.
So the authority is going to be the oversight,
Okay,
but maybe
okay.
understanding how.
Yeah, I guess like maybe that. What does that look like?
Okay.
Yeah.
Helping.
I just kind of missed the idea that it's going to be the authority that's going to do it. So.
Land use controls, how does this work?
Right, yeah. Is
Got
that,
it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm going to also ask maybe those authority members and staff members, maybe one authority member, one staff member, if you could sit with Jessica at the and those who are commenting online, maybe perhaps you could assist with making sure that we're engaging appropriately with them. Okay, we have about maybe 2 or 3 more minutes for these set of questions. If we keep flowing.
What is your name?
Oh, I'm Kelsey.
Kelsey.
Yes, yeah, sorry. I'm with the
Controls, how does this work?
Big Island.
How does this work?
I got a quick comment. It will be quick, but based on what you're saying, because I think so. From your first comment, and I think it's related to what you just said too. And honestly, I think a lot of people that for a long time will like look at this and realize that the rationale is sound, connected to Aina and traditional values and knowledge. I think the question is, right, what does the decision tree look like? How do you take this?
Yes, thank you.
And how is it going to be operationalized? And I do come from a land use planning background, and the part that always is the sticking point in communities is, we told you the significance. How did you still make the decision and never even adjust to propose the proposition that is before you? And I think that is the challenge. That's going to be the ultimate challenge of MKSOA and the upcoming management plan, to make a decision tree and to have whoever the authority is, whether the sole authority lies with the board or there's other agencies, how does that decision tree make sure that it accounted for us? That's what I feel is not understandable. The content in here is understandable.
Mm-hmm. Mahalo. So I'm factoring in 3 big questions. What does the decision tree look like? How will the values and principles be operationalized? And where or with whom does that authority lie?
And the discretion, the power of discretion
And
for the
power.
final decisions.
Yes. Final decision making and discretion. Decision, authority, discretion. Mahalo. Kind of goes back to what you were, your thoughts at the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does this coexist?
when we have a framework like this, which you resonate with, but how does it get applied and operationalized?
So yes, one of the words that keeps popping out for me is status quo.
Status quo,
So,
okay.
challenging the status quo.
Challenging.
I challenge status quo in our office every time. Because, it was done this way, so just keep on doing it. But then I'm also looking for rules and references regarding why the decision was made that way. So for me, I think what would be an example of like a status quo, depending on, with a commitment to stewardship, Mauna Kea is informed by existing wisdom and traditions, as well as expanding knowledge. So depending what we're looking at wisdom, what is the status quo that we're challenging about that, or traditions, or even being mindful of the impacts and future needs. So just that word, status quo, is getting a hard time to understand that as it relates. Maybe gotta break it down a little bit more and give an example of what that would look like, so people can think about it and be like, oh, okay, now I understand. If that makes sense.
Yes, perhaps one thing that I think is actionable, I understanding what you're saying, and perhaps what I'm picking up as what might be actionable here is maybe provide examples of the current situation, the current management paradigm, and then a future management paradigm that is led or grounded or informed by these values. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, I did think so we can have something to compare it to.
Okay.
At least in thinking through the details.
So you want to know how
an example
do we provide examples? And thank you to my recorders here that will help me provide examples that status quo and move from current model to a new model. I mean, that's what underpins all of this, right? Because what underpins all of this is that the order framework and management framework and authority was insufficient for where community at large, the public, wanted to take the careship of Mauna Kea for Mauna Kea. Okay, if it's okay, we're going to move to the next question, which is similar. What is missing? So what is missing? So what is not showing up on this 2 or 4-pager, 3-pager? What is missing? So got your comments, Kala. Yep. That's something that's missing. Perhaps more examples that's missing. Olalo Hawaii, that's another thing missing, right?
Imagery.
Okay.
So when we tell stories and when we hear stories, and John was a prime example of the flow, right? That's imagery, and that adds to our experience of the story. And even if it's in written form, be it online or paper, I think adding those elements perpetuates and further describes the story that this is coming from.
Can I say what I like?
Yes.
I like the QR codes.
Why? And why?
It's easy access. I can just grab my phone and put ATE and it's
In
right
today's
there.
world, yeah.
Yeah.
Are there more, should there be more references to QR codes? And if so, to what resources? Which resources?
Maybe photos of the board members and staff. and their background.
Okay. Authority members, okay, and staff. Or maybe easy, does it have the link to the authority website?
Yes.
It does, okay. That's something easy, okay. Maybe we might get permission, or actually it's a public domain, but I happen to know of another foundation that is an expert in Kapwa and Kanawai, and maybe we could have a link to them too. Either Kanawai Foundation. Yes.
I was thinking about like the native species, the plant and animal. I don't know if that's really, I know the kapuli, the snail is like, it's like the only place that they're found right now is on Mauna Kea, so kind of maybe involving someone with that, or yeah, just like these.
All the important endemic plants and animals.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because yeah, it's mentioned about the restoration of the ecosystem, but it might be nice to be more specific with that.
Perfect, thank you. What else? What else is missing? What else do we want to add? Yeah, that's the best. What do we want to add to this? Important needed species. Okay. What else? What do we want to add?
I don't know if this is something I'd want to add, but it's something that I'd like to know more about. In that part where it says significance of the Mauna, and it says only activities reflecting the highest standards and practices should be allowed on the Mauna. And so the Mauna Kea Stewardship Oversight Authority is the board to determine what is, I guess, the reflection of the highest standards allowed on the mountain. But like, how does that look? How do they decide? Like, what's the outline that they'll follow to implement or grant the access?
Good, very specific. How will the authority grant access and use? And describe highest standards. Why is that important to you? Sorry, I just want to make sure that I'm following my own question. Why is it important to describe that?
I guess because the more like specific, this for like personal stuff in Ka'u, you know, we acquire a lot of land for cultural practices and subsistence gathering, and it's just, you know, we have a stewardship of experts from different fields of, you know, what they know, and so I think this framework could be bigger than we think, you know? It can be the kanawai of how people operate in their own group. And so that's important to me.
Kind of sets a standard.
Yeah.
Anything else? What else would we like to add to this draft framework?
I got a process question.
Okay. No.
Because I think we ran into this when I was attending the White Man meeting.
Yes.
Where I think somebody from the board mentioned like purpose of this document.
Yes.
And so I can go back a little bit. So I think between Uncle Neil and Uncle John, they had the slide up about the strategic framework and then the regulatory framework. And I'm assuming that was supposed to lead us into sharing light. Before developing the management plan, that the strategic framework is the guide for that. Am I correct in that process?
That is my understanding.
Then I would say it should be prefaced so that we understand. You know, I the last meeting too. I jump into solutions, and so you can get that in maybe the other meetings too. People want to flesh it out in this, but if that's not the purpose of this, then it should be prefaced so that they know we're not going to get into the nitty gritty in this. This is going to be the foundation for that coming up.
And actually, it's more of a cornerstone than it is a foundation, right? Because what's important about the document and where it is today in draft form is it has 12 co-authors. So you have 12 people on the pen. Right? And among the 12, there are those who feel intent that they get built. There are those who feel as soon as you can get them all off the mono, the better. Okay? And then everything in between on the circle, right? So when you think about the 12 hands, they're not all in sync. So this is a process of syncing. Right? If everybody can sign off boardroom on this, that is a powerful step in the right direction. Small step, but powerful. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I think it's just important for the next community meeting for them to understand the actual purpose of this will be the foundation of the planning document, so that they're not trying to go into nitty-gritties. And I totally understand what you know, in my planning background, we strive, when we're working with large groups, is you develop the guiding principles, because the bigger document, everybody going to throw their mana'o into it. And when there's conflict, does it stick to the guiding principle or does it fall off the guiding principle? So that's the purpose of this, right? Okay, so I think just a preface of that.
That's a great question, because I had a media call today. And question number 1 was, what problem are you trying to solve tonight? And so I had to back them out, right, the same way. So we'll make it a point in future meetings to preface that.
We're vetting this with all the communities around the island to get the input. Once this is this is good. Yeah.
Okay, being mindful
and the only thing that is guaranteed is going to be a hapa.
What?
Because the regulatory framework you're talking about in the Kanawai going to have an offspring. And that's why we have the most beautiful children in Hawaii.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you come out, but my wife, one day, going way back, had Luca in diapers, sitting on her lap while you folks were stripping okay, right? And then she saw Luca a couple weeks ago. Don't let him sit on your lap now.
I will.
Okay,
Mahina, can I just add one?
Yes,
One
go ahead.
more response.
Yes,
to
go
this.
ahead.
The other thing that hasn't been talked about is we're under a fairly rigid clock set by the legislature. So what we might do in theory, if we were just, and how that the timing would take is one thing, but we don't want to fail, we don't want to miss the clock. Because we think that if we do, and we ask for extensions and so forth, that those may be avenues or openings to kind of unwind some of the progress that's been made. So some of the stuff we're doing with a certain amount of concurrency or whatever that may not make sense on paper, but under the circumstances we felt, or we may feel that we've got to push these things concurrently and then try and pull them together or later on. That's the clock is a real thing ticking in our ears. We have 3 years.
Yeah, and it was set into law, so in the statute. So we also have some time sticking here, being mindful of the time. We have a bonus question because you guys are doing so well in providing us guidance and feedback and input. So here's the question: given all the things that you shared, are there any plans or frameworks that the authorities should take a look at?
Decision trees.
Decision trees. Have you heard of any other frameworks or plans that center place-based indigenous expertise as a central operating system for a new management regime? Yep. Because we want to make sure that we're looking.
I'm going to throw out the Bureau BURRA Charter 2013. BURRA Charter 2013.
Where is this placed? What area? Is this that's not Hawaii.
International.
I was thinking, yeah. Okay, international.
International Indigenous.
Okay, mahalo. Anyone else? Thank you. I know that Dr. Hui has also provided some references as well with the previous work that Eden Foundation has done. So they did let the authority know, like the Kanalua research. Yes, yes.
It's the song for Kaho'olawe.
Yes.
It was completed in 2005? 4 or 5?
Kia'i Kanaloa?
Yeah. Kukulu Ke'el o Kanaloa.
Thank you, that's right. Kukulu Ke'el. And then also, what do you think about Papahanaumokuakea and the whole document that got Papahanaumokuakea inscribed into UNESCO?
Yep.
Make Pomai, which I forget. No.
Yeah.
Make Pomai, yeah?
Make Pomai.
You're up. Okay. Any other references? County, state, federal, international, community-led? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to invite all of our authority members and staff members, actually just to come sit right around the table. Yeah, here.
Okay, so we picked your brain and gotten your input, and now the time you guys to ask us some of the questions that you might have that all of the members can answer. And let me start with one of your questions. Was the wording that astronomy, support of astronomy, that is in the law. It's exactly the language of the law, and there's no further clarification of that. So that part of our job is we have to accept the law, but then we have to end up interpreting and providing definition what that exact word is. So we'll open up if anybody has, and we'll let each of the authority members or whoever, you can direct your question to a particular person or just throw out a question.
We also take answers.
Yeah. we got you.
Just questions.
They gave us some.
Donations.
No, we don't know.
Like Jeopardy. It's like,
yeah.
The question is.
You guys have questions for us?
Well, let me start with like a statement about, I've said this over and over again, right? This authority is something very different and has never been done for the state. And the reason why I say that is that this authority, there are particular categories of authority members that were identified by law. And what the intent of the law was to provide voice and voting power to people that did not have voice before. If you look around government, that is not usually done. Where you provide, so we have at least 3 leaders of the Kia'i, part of the authority, that have equal voting power with everyone. But the idea was to provide a process where the voices that were not heard before are actually being heard, right? And the voices not only have a voice, but they have voting power, right? So this is an experiment about whether or not this kind of framework might be a way for us to move forward, to continue to give voice. I told people last night that I don't like the divisiveness just in general about where Hawaii is going. So this might be a way for us to provide an opportunity to have this discussion just like we're having tonight in a way where people feel comfortable expressing themselves, and hopefully we can come to some resolution without like just being mad at each other. Yeah. So that's the whole intent, as I said, the whole intent of this. And you know, protection of the mauna is our goal, but this is just a different process that has not been tried before. So I don't know if that spurs any questions or thoughts about what we're trying to do as a body.
Is there a place for people to ask questions outside of these meetings? Like a good email or some sort of, way for anyone to ask questions to you guys?
Yeah. There is a website. Where's Chris?
Right there.
Chris. The website that people, the email address that people can send inquiries in.
Switch it up a couple times. Let me just make sure. I think I know.
Yeah, it's new actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys know, but we have this deadline, right? That on July 1st, 2028, we're going to take over management of the mountain. July 1st, 2033, the leases terminate and all kinds of stuff. So we have a lot to do. So the analogy we always talk about is that, we're driving a car and we're changing a tire. So to your point, we're trying to create a better website. We're trying to create ways for people to communicate and engage with us. But please be a little bit patient with us, because trying to take the lug nuts off of a wheel when the thing is moving is not that easy. No, so we'll provide that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what John is alluding to is what we're doing tonight. It's a huge effort from staff and authority members to commit to this kind of schedule, and we're really looking forward to being able to bring our consultants on so that we have more bodies and more hands and more minds putting all this together. But we, as an authority, although we come from different islands as well, really make a commitment to do this. And to do this in a way, that's why, I really like how Mahina helps us with this discussion that we've had. We actually, besides the meeting in Waimea, we had 3 smaller meetings in Hilo to just open up the door and have this kind of casual, earnest, and free conversation with our community. And sometimes we had quite a few people. These are the same people that we stood up on a and locked arms with. And so we need to build trust with them too now, because we are part of government, right? And I'll tell you, I get asked, have you changed your mind about TMT? We don't even talk about TMT. This isn't about that. Our focus is to create something that helps us to take care of monarchy. And that's all the activity that takes place up there. There's a whole lot more than just astronomy. Astronomy is a big one, but there's a lot of stuff going on there. Good stuff as well, not just all bad. There's education programs, there's assets of our natural resources that we should make sure our future generations have access to. that they understand, that they learn. Because when they learn about what's going on in Mauna Kea, then they have a better inkling about their entire world, right? And how to make sure that world is going to be there for future generations. That phrase is in our statute, to take care of Mauna Kea for future generations. It's a completely different paradigm from the existing model, you know, and I don't want to get into that about, you know, they did this, we did that, or didn't do it, but it is a complete from the existing model. And so, you know, it's a lot of effort on all of our side, on all of our parts, including community, to come out to our meetings and to engage with us and help us. But together, not just the 11 members or 12 members of the authority. You leave it to us by ourselves, it's going to be really hard to achieve that in the end. Yeah.
And in my opinion, one of the reasons we're at is a lack of communication and a lack of transparency.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So we are committed to being as transparent and coming before. What we're doing is really highly unusual for a governmental agency to actually come and actually, but we know that to be successful, we're going to have to communicate and we're going to have to be transparent, because if we're not, and we create doubt and we create distrust because of lack of communication, we fail. Right? So all of you have to know that that's one of the kind of pillars of what we always talk about. Make sure that we're transparent. Let's make sure, good or bad, whether you agree or not, at least we're telling you what we think and what we're doing, right? Because if we don't, then people start to distrust the group.
They're helping the elderly here. The address is mksoa.community@hawaii.gov. mksoa.community@hawaii.gov.
Thank you.
And let me just add to that, part of the attraction for me to be in this role is that there's parts of it that feel impossible.
Parks.
We've been on the mountain for the last 2 days. We've been on the mountain with 11 legislators, right? And I wish every legislator, every elected official could go to the mountain, because that gives the Mauna an opportunity to speak directly, right? And you witness something transformative that has very little to do with what we're saying. It has everything to do with, this is what we're all responsible for. Right? This is like our ohana, this is our grandmother, right? Once they make that connection, then, you know, we're getting on the same page, right? And at the end, our party message is, we're going to need your help, because the law needs clarification in some key areas. Neil?
Yeah, I mean, never underestimate the power of our aina, especially if it's something as significant as our Mauna to speak. It moves all hearts, not just Hawaiian hearts, not just, you know, Kane, not way. I mean, it moves us all. You know, if I were to assess the gap in perceptions from the protests in the Mauna, contested case hearings, litigation, you would think it's a mile wide and very deep. When we just take people to the Mauna, when we just have a circle like this, I find it really, really shrinks. I've met with Gemini Telescope guys, I've met with Jean Gabriel and the Canada France, I've met with Rick, the more time I spend with Rich. It is that wide. It just needs clarity and a better process. And I have that hope. And that's what we never done this before, and we really don't want to fail. This is too important for, not just for this issue in Hawaii, but for lots of issues in Hawaii. And let this be the standard, you know. And so we're really dedicated to doing that. And hopeful every time we, you know, take people over. Wow, this is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, we need everybody's help. We need each. don't know how much we need each of your help to let people know what we're trying to do, to give us ideas. We don't have that. Like I said in the beginning, we don't have the answers. We're searching for the answers ourselves. So it's not like we're, you know, so we're going to need each and every one of your help. And as John says, stick to your convictions, but be willing to listen to, right? So stick to, we're not going to change what you think, what you believe, express what you believe, but be open and empathetic to listening to different points of view. And who knows, I don't know what that's going to result in, but hopefully it results in a popular effort, right?
Chair Komeiji, if we could give the final word to the Ka'u community. If you have any final comments for authority members here, the staff members here, and the advisors that they brought on to support.
Just mahalo for coming. Thank you.
Please eat
Cover the next steps.
We rename the authority Malasana.
You covered the next steps in your opening remarks a bit earlier. Did you want to restate anything like the next meetings that are coming up and so forth? Up to you.
The next meeting is August 27th in Kona. It'll be in the County Council chambers, 5:30 to 7:30. Same format, and we will, the meetings.
5 p.m. That's right.
5 p.m. I'm sorry. That's right. Kona is half hour. A little more rushed. 5 to 7. So, but that'll be next, and then we're in Naalehu on September 3rd of September. And then, Naalehu, Hilo, Waimea. And then we will have completed this phase of it, but this is, as I said, real incremental, real important. It'll furnish the board with a lot of important insight as to what our community is feeling. And engaging community will become a way of life, frankly. You're going to see our advisors and our staff and our board members appear time and time again. The cadence and frequency is going to pick up significantly because we've got critical work to do. And you know, in the course of a week, 2 weeks, I'm talking to, what I enjoy about this is I can get rid of my own agenda. Because once I step in the boardroom, we're in a circle of tribal chiefs. And I recognize their leadership, and I have a behind them who they're accountable to, right? So, if I bring my own baggage, right? Nobody inviting me to stay overnight. So, but being able to move, and we just got to keep working at it, keep focusing on it. And most importantly, you're going to hear this, in my mind, there's this org chart, right? And so I report to the board is attached to DLNR reports to the governor, but above all of us is the mama.
Yes. And that's really important, you know, because sometimes when you have groups come together and you figure out what they can all agree on, there's a regressive effect that what we all can agree on is just this one little thing. And I think what we're trying to do is flip that on its head and elevate our thinking to what we all have different perspectives on our board, but how do you establish some values that elevate us all, that we can all agree on? So what comes out is really not the result of compromise, but the result of really kind of rich, adding value and abundance in our thinking.
So I'm going to invite everyone to stand, and we're going to formally close this gathering. having us here in this hale and in your Aina. Thank you for those that traveled from very many Moku districts of Hawaii for bringing your input as well. Thanks for those who are online, who joined us. And the notes that will be written up and summarized will end up on the Mauna Kea Authority website. So within a few weeks, and check back. And if you've left your email with us, we'll be sure to add you and make sure that everyone who's participated in these meetings, we complete all of our meetings. We will put together a final kind of draft summary and get this all back to you. So with that, we're going to close with a mele that assures longevity and life in our aina and in our homes and in our communities. O kaola e ke akua e nana mai ka umau pula e ola kaniko aha umaka I ole a palalau hala a kaui ka puane ane a laila lawe atu oe ui ke aloha ke ae. Aloha. Aloha. Hallelujah.